2, 3.
Let's go. I love to see the temple. I'm going there someday to feel the Holy Spirit, to listen and to pray for the day.
It is time for another episode of the Cultural Hall, and as the music would tell you, this is in fact a temple ticker episode of the Cultural Hall. There are many duplicates of the Cultural Hall, but this is the OG, the original, joined by the Pharaoh himself, Corey K. Ward. Welcome in, sir.
Hey, what's up?
Now, you remember a while back I said, hey, do you think we're going to visit again? And you were like, oh, I think the church takes December off. Well, not this December, Pharaoh. Not this December. They have decided to continue to pump out temple news every Monday afternoon. And so we have a lot that we need to get to. Plus, we'll do a little bit of a year in review and a year in preview as we look towards 2025. So take us where you will.
Yeah, we always start with the temple dedications.
Let's do it.
So we remember that we commemorated the 200th temple dedication recently. And now we're already at 2 more temples. So Casper Wyoming Temple was dedicated on right there right before Thanksgiving on the 24th by Elder Quinton Cook. So that's number 201.
201. 201.
And of course, while you're in the desert in Wyoming in the winter, you have to remember the pioneers, how they trekked through Wyoming in the snow. So there's a lot of reminiscences about that, about how significant the place is for so many people.
I like the idea of Elder Cook going, picture this, close your eyes. It's a cold winter's morning. There's pioneers out on that. Like, I bet it is some of that. Is that?
Yeah, sure. I think you've been maybe at a rehearsal or something. It's almost like you're in the mood dramatic for a show.
Yeah, but we do that, though. You're right. It's I'll tell you a story, the sacrifice, and that's what did Casper. Unlike Cody, no sort of pushback from the people in Casper. Not any at all.
There really wasn't. It's not really in a neighborhood. It's just kind of it's like by I think an elementary school, kind of in the middle of the town. So yeah.
So just they said, all right, fine in Casper, Cody, boy. And then we remember the pioneers. So that's 201, but you said there's another one. So 202.
Yeah, that's right. The Tallahassee Florida temple was dedicated on December 8th by Elder Patrick Kearon. So this is the first temple that he's dedicated.
I was just going to say, this is his first solo. He was at another one in the late 190s, but is like the junior companion.
Yeah, that's right. That must have been his hey, we're going to show you the ropes, and then you're on your own next time. Yeah, so they talked about how Florida, in the Panhandle, was where the church began in the state. One of the first branches of the church in the South was located in Tallahassee. Also, I guess significant to me, my great-grandparents met on their mission, and one of their areas that they served in was Tallahassee.
Oh, that's awesome.
I believe. I don't know if they were there at the same time. I know they were in Georgia, Alabama area, Southern States Mission, right before Pearl Harbor was bombed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he went home and continued to write her, and then she's from Idaho, and then she came through Colorado to see him, and then they got engaged before she even got home from her mission.
She's on her way home. Pit stop. By the way, I'm engaged. Moving back to Colorado, guys. Peace out.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, the war had a big impact because he was drafted to go to France, and he actually was killed there a few years later.
Oh,
so
no.
The marriage was not only lasted about 10 years, but my grandma was born in that time. So, yeah, kind of a special memory for my family history.
Wow. Which one of your great-grandparents didn't lock their heart?
I don't know. I actually have her journals, so I can go and probably see how they got contacted.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to have that report back. So let me know. That has nothing to do with temples. This is all about temples and anything else we want to talk about. Tallahassee's pretty big as far as Florida goes. Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly not the biggest city. It's certainly not as big as Orlando or Tampa or Jacksonville or Miami, all of which have temples either built or under construction.
Okay.
But it is the state capital, and it's in the northern part. There's 8 stakes that were assigned to the temple district.
Jeez.
Some of them are in southern Georgia, as well as Alabama. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then just on that note, is there a dedication coming up? What is the next dedication? What is 203?
It is the Auckland, New Zealand temple, which
Okay.
will be dedicated on February 24th.
Okay. So take a little bit of...
April 13th.
Oh, wow. So we take quite the respite for the first few months, probably just because weather, right? And so much of open houses, you don't want to be standing out in the cold trying to get in, waiting in line, all that kind of stuff.
Well, of course, it's in the southern hemisphere, so it's in the summer down there. They'll have the open house in February, which will be pretty good weather, and then later in April, which is the fall, I guess, they'll have the dedication.
Okay. So then let's see, dedication. So now we go to groundbreakings, and there's been quite a few of these.
Yeah. Actually, there's only been one.
Oh.
There's been some announced, and then there was one held. So the Grand Rapids, Michigan Temple had a groundbreaking. Like I predicted. Unlike I predicted, they did not have it in the chapel. They did have a nice formed tent, though.
Yeah, and above ground dirt to ground break. I saw
they elevated the dirt for the
it's like
shovels.
a coffin full of dirt that they dug. That was ridiculous. I love the celebration. Can't we just dedicate it? And why do we call it a groundbreaking still? We're not breaking the ground. It's ridiculous.
Well, before it used to be a cornerstone ceremony.
Because we did cornerstones.
But now because they do it with concrete, there's no cornerstone. And so then they got shifted to, let's break the ground. And then...
Yep.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why we can't just do hey, the work is starting. Everyone come to a big party because the work is starting. Or even
symbolism.
Or even maybe there's one person, the presiding authority, they take a couple of those big jet heaters and they put it towards the ground so that one little part of the ground is warm enough, and then he digs it a spade and that's it. And then we technically broke the ground and then it's begun. It seems a bit absurd to have an above ground 4-foot deep topsoil. It's not even the dirt. It's maddening.
And it is a worldly ceremony because it's not connected to the temple at all. It is, people have groundbreakings for housing complexes and whatever. It's just a way to get the media to pay attention, basically.
Yeah, and it's not like a grave dedication where there's a priesthood ordinance around it. It's just put some dirt and let's move it with some gold painted shovels. I don't get it.
Elder Matthias Held was the one that presided over this. It was December 7th that it happened. And this is going to be the second temple in Michigan.
So you have a couple that have been announced, Colombia and the Philippines. When are those happening?
Yeah, the one in Cali, Colombia, it's going to happen on March 1st, 2025. Jorge T. Becerra will be the presiding authority there. This will be the third temple in Colombia. There's been 4. So far, there's now 4 announced. But last time we talked about how the old school, was being torn down on the site. So I predicted that a groundbreaking would be announced soon, and just within a few weeks it was. So
sure enough. And then Tacloban Philippines?
Yeah, we got an announcement that there would be a groundbreaking. It'll be on January 18th. Elder Michael B. Strong of the Philippine Area Presidency will be presiding over this. Initially, we did not get a rendering, but a few weeks later we did. It's going to be a two-story temple of about 21,000 square feet. It is a pretty similar design to the two other temples in the southern Philippines that are under construction, Davao and Cagayan de Oro. But it's a slightly different exterior. I kind of like it how it looks kind of like a round spire on it. So it's a little bit different. Maybe paying a little bit more attention to kind of more Asian features of the building. So, yeah, I like it. It's a little bit more unique.
And then we get to some other temple sites where they're actually going to be built and some renderings that have been released. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, in mid-December we got a flurry of
not snow here in Utah, but a flurry of temples.
No, we've gotten a lot of new designs being released. The first one we got earlier in the month, or I guess in late November, is the Fairbanks Alaska temple. This temple is one of those Helena-sized 10,000 square foot buildings. It will be located on Geist Road in Fairbanks, about a 7-acre
that's a good
site.
place. Yeah, it's a good one. Geist, yep.
I found it interesting that they actually had like aerial photos of the site that they got while they were, I guess someone was surveying it. I think I know why, because that same day the church newsroom released a story about how they brought the giving machines to North Pole, which of course North Pole is a suburb of Fairbanks. So kind of that play on words, I guess. But they talked about bringing the giving machines to a mall near there. So I guess while they were there, I guess the Desert News reporters just went over to the temple site and took some photos of it. Of course, they have a lot of snow there right now. So
it's worth noting that Geist, the name of the street, spiritual, means spirit or ghost can be. And what are we doing work for but for the dead on Geist Road, Geist Way? Coincidence? I think not. I think not.
I like it. And if hopefully, if you go there, there is a kind of like a food truck nearby.
Okay.
Just next door, there's a Shanghai Thai to go.
Okay.
It looks like just like an old camper that the wheels are flat and everything, but they have this Thai restaurant, I guess, inside. Which I don't really get. I don't really get why it's Shanghai Thai. Like Shanghai is in China, and then Thai. So I don't. I guess in Alaska it's all the same to them.
Yeah. Listen, it's all not here. It's all Asian. Yeah, sure, that works.
So yeah, hopefully when the people go to the temple, then they can get Thai food afterwards. And also there's the sunrise bagel and expresso, another option while you're there.
Yeah, it's also by the Fairbanks extended stay, which I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but typically around those extended stays, that's not a great neighborhood.
Well, I think probably most of the criminal activity would probably just get frozen out most of the year.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Probably safe.
They don't go outside. Mexico City, Benemerito.
Yeah, this one was big. So the church released the rendering of the Mexico City Benemerito temple. It is located on the Mexico MTC campus, as was previously announced. This is a 2-story temple, about 30,000 square feet. It's using a lot of the Aztec kind of features. The kind of the walls on the temple are kind of slanted, kind of like an Aztec pyramid. So really leaning into that heritage. A lot of the features are the same as the current Mexico City temple as well. So, but still unique. I like that in the rendering, you have the mountain that has the bee on it, which was for Benemerito. And it's kind of on the rendering, it's kind of hidden by the palm tree in the back, but you can see it there. I went to go survey this temple site about a year and a half ago. They have a really cool cable car gondola, like an urban gondola that goes through the site. So lots of people that live in this area will every day when they're commuting will see the temple from that.
It's worth noting with all of these temples, the renderings and area around it, there are links in the show notes that you can click and be able to see the exact things that we're talking about. I happen to notice as I click on the Benemerito temple that all of the pictures are courtesy of one Corey K. Ward.
That's right. You can go to churchesofchristTemples.org, and you can see that I submitted those temples back in 2023.
Nice pictures.
Those pictures, yeah, of the temple site. I tried to hike the Bee Mountain, but I didn't quite get up all the way to the Bee.
You get tired?
There's a really good view of the temple site from there.
What happened? You got tired?
Well, it was kind of like a private neighborhood.
Okay.
And I didn't really want to kind of trespass into someone's yard.
Sure.
Just on the side of the mountain. And I was also trying to get to nearby. There's a chapel that has the only YSA ward in Latin America, and I wanted to visit it. And it was
cool.
I needed to get a taxi to go over there because it was going to start soon. So I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to go now.
Did you make it on time?
Yeah, just barely.
Oh yeah. Well, let me ask you this about.
It was their Easter program too. I was there on Easter Sunday.
Oh, that's awesome. Were you a hot commodity in the young single adult ward in Mexico when you were there?
Not at all. I just kind of slipped in and slipped out without talking to many people.
I like the idea of you walking in and everyone goes, "Ooh, caliente." Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we saw another rendering for this one. Previously, it was announced that this temple would be a one-story temple of 20,000 square feet. We saw the rendering now. It looks a lot like what the Grand Rapids, Michigan temple was going to look like before they redesigned it. But this one's kind of a more white exterior with a gold cupola on the top. So yeah, I guess that's the theme that they're going for in Harrisburg. Kind of it looks like some cherry blossom windows. So yeah.
It's interesting to me that it seems like the spire is sort of in the center of all of these. At least all of the ones that we've talked about at this time. Doesn't seem like the spire is towards the front or towards the back, like you see in some of the other designs. Most, if not all of these that we've talked about, so excuse me, so far have had the spire there in the middle. That's kind of fascinating. Is that a shift? Are we changing? Is that the direction we're going?
I think it's just a coincidence because, like we said, that the Grand Rapids temple was designed. They got a redesign to shift it forward. I think it's just a coincidence that all 5 of these renderings that were released on the same day are center spire. But
yeah, I don't know. Jacksonville follows suit too. Jacksonville is spire in the middle.
Yeah, we saw the Jacksonville temple as well. It's kind of a sandstone color. It has a kind of a pyramid type spire on the top. It looks a lot similar to the Casper Wyoming temple, except it's 3 times as large as that. So
yeah, but Springfield, Missouri too. I'm looking at these. Look at this. All these notes. The links in the show notes are awesome. Worth the click through. But right there, it's a different kind of spire on the Springfield. That is different for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a more elongated triangle, and it's a white temple. It looks a lot like the one that they just is under construction in Londrina, Brazil. So they're kind of, I think, reusing that design in Missouri.
Okay. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back in the second half, we're going to pick it right back up with Winchester, Virginia. We'll come back and do that in the second half of the Temple Ticker. BestDJinUtah.com is the website. That is where you go if you would like me to come and DJ your event. Now, will I do a family reunion where you all wear the same T-shirts? You bet I will. Will I travel to wherever you're at? Am I reasonable as far as what I cost? Yes. Do I bring a good time? Yeah, all the things. Listen, Best DJ in Utah, it's my company. It's a thing I do that allows me to be able to have the time to do the cultural hall. So if someone's getting married, you think, man, they need a great DJ. You're throwing a party, whether it's a 50th or 60th or 40th or 20th or whatever the party is. I've done them all and would love to be able to do that. An anniversary party, certainly done those. I did a baptism in 2023. Yeah, we did a big dance party at a baptism. Spoiler, not a Mormon baptism, but it was fun nonetheless. BestDJinUtah.com is a website. I will get back to you within 24 hours with a quote. Come on now. BestDJinUtah.com.
Imagine running a small business today. It's challenging. Imaging and internet presence is an absolute must. Even with that, you're still a small star in a bright cyber universe. Now, imagine you have someone who understands how to get your site designed for your talents and then easily searched by potential clients. Imagine Lennon Design. Whether it's strictly a website or a whole package of logo creation, advertising media, and promotional materials, Lennon Design is your partner in business. They'll test the boundaries of their imagination to create something unique for you. When you need creative, affordable design, let it be Lennon Design. Call 801-699-3022 or visit LennonDesign.com.
Here in the second half of the Temple Ticker, we go right to Winchester, Virginia.
Yeah, so we also got a rendering for this temple. It's really following that Virginia colonial style that we saw in the recent Richmond, Virginia temple that was dedicated a couple years ago now, I think, maybe just 1 year ago. It's kind of a granite one-story temple, has kind of like the Greek features that you see.
It looks sort of political. It looks like it belongs in like your Washington, D.C., Virginia area. It's very, very, that part of the country for sure. The pillars up front. It makes me think of like a law library with a really large spire, again, in the center of the temple.
I would say, if I counted them all up, I would say probably center spire is the more popular thing right now.
So trendy.
So you probably are noticing something.
It's like the Costco doors and the center temple, center spire in the temple. Just like they say, the Costco doors. Do you know the Costco doors? You don't know what I'm talking about. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Let's move on. What about the Buenos Aires City Center, Argentina?
Yeah, I'm really passionate about this. It's really interesting. This is the second temple for the area of Buenos Aires. It's going to be actually located in the city center. The other one, the current one, is located in a suburb called Evita. So this is actually going to be in the city, in the downtown, in one of the densest areas of the San Nicolas neighborhood. And this has a really interesting and long and controversial history, this site.
Go on.
So it is located behind the Santa Catalina de Siena monastery. And this is one of the oldest churches and monasteries in the country of Argentina. They started it in 1717 and they finished it in 1745, so nearly 300 years old. Today, it now functions as kind of a community center. You can go there. There's like a cafe. You can sit in the courtyard and everything. And so the lot that is behind the church is where the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints bought for the temple site. It was sold off maybe like 50 years ago or so. There used to be a hospital back there. It was later demolished. And they've done some archaeological digs and they found many artifacts. They found there was a burial. There was a cemetery there. So they found bodies and lots of artifacts that are 300 years plus or older. And so there's been lots. This lot has gone through lots of owners. People have tried to develop it. There's been a lot of proposals for like 20-story apartment buildings, and there's a really active community group that is pushing for a plaza be built here. They've been pushing for this for a while. In the past, they've successfully opposed these large towers. There is a tower that was built right next to the monastery. And a lot of people don't like that it kind of casts a shadow on the monastery and kind of makes it a little bit darker of a site. So they've been pushing it back against these developers. They've been trying to build these tall towers. And now the church owns this site. So it's very interesting to see, I guess, what's going to happen if the church is going to move forward with this. In addition, there was a fire in April in this monastery that destroyed one of the altars. And there's an effort to raise money to repair that as well.
We don't have a rendering of this temple yet, right?
No, and they didn't even release a square footage. So it makes me think that if their proposal might be like a unique design. I mean, what I would like to see happen is that they work with these neighborhood groups. Maybe they put maybe they put the parcel behind the monastery as like a little park and open area, and then have the temple on the side.
Yes.
You'd think that maybe they would be happy maybe if it was just like a small 2-story temple, they would be fine with that. If you speak Spanish, there's a really good YouTube video that they've made in the last few months that talks about the plaza and what the proposal is and what the history is. You can probably turn on this translation if you don't speak Spanish.
And be able to check it.
So,
link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, there's been a lot of coverage about opposition towards temples in the United States. So there has already, if you look through the Google results for this temple site, there's actually been a lot of reporting for the past year in the Argentinian newspapers about this temple site, even though it was never confirmed by the church that it was the site. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what happens with this and if the church can, I guess, get its desire to build a temple here.
Well, so I know that you're going to follow this, so I want to point to the outfield on this one. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is going to donate some money for the burnt altar. Guaranteed.
That's what I would like to see, yeah.
Guaranteed. If not, hey, church leaders, donate some money to the altar. That is like a good faith. That is a goodwill. That is we care about the community. And looking at the building of this monastery, whatever, around the temple, we should go with that form and have it be kind of open air. I love the idea of a plaza and a place that people can go, and it can be a gathering place so people can go and be able to learn of the history of that and be able to go and enjoy the green space and all that. I also love that people can be able to get there, I would assume, because it's in the city, with mass transportation, as opposed to oftentimes when these things are stuck out in the suburbs. Especially we used to do this in the States, where you're getting a 25-minute cab ride. Thanks, Chicago. That temple is forever away. It's like, geez, what? I want to just, okay, fine. We'll go out to the suburbs. But they're starting not to do that so much.
Yeah, definitely. There doesn't need to be any parking on the site. I would not put a parking lot here because it already is a parking lot. So just put a park that would be open. A lot of the temples have gates that are closed off during, a lot of the day. So have a public place open and then a nice medium-sized temple. I think that would be a good proposal. Hopefully this neighbor group would be happy because they definitely don't want, some large tower right there next to it. So yeah, this could be a good opportunity to build good bridges if it goes right.
Well, and speaking about bridges not being built, let us go to Fairview, McKinney, Texas Temple. Yes,
they have said that they might rename it the Fairview Texas Temple, but I haven't seen anything recently about that. So right now it's still the McKinney Texas Temple. We talked last time about a mediation effort to avoid litigation for this temple, and only like the day after we talked about this last, they reached an agreement, and they said that they want to decrease the size of the building to 35 feet from 65. They want to decrease the square footage to 30,000 square feet from 43,000, and then the tower would be 120 feet instead of 174 feet. So this matches the design of the Fort Worth and the Austin temples that are currently under construction. This is the most common floor plan that the church is building right now. There's something like 40 temples that are going to be using this floor plan. And I didn't really know why the church wanted such a large temple, 2-story temple in the first place. There was only going to be about 8 stakes that went to this temple. And similar to like Tallahassee, there was 8 stakes there. The Fort Worth temple is only going to pull in about 8. Austin as well. So I think it's probably still going to meet the needs of the people in the area just fine.
It's because everything is bigger in Texas. You have to
at least in Fairview, maybe not Fort Worth.
Yeah. And so then, go ahead.
Yeah, the Planning Commission will have to reconsider this when they submit a new application, and then the Town Council will get their input again. You would think that if they've reached this agreement, that they would be more amenable to passing it.
Sure.
However, in the last meeting that was just held a couple of weeks ago, there was still a lot of people that showed up to voice their discontent about it. So we'll see where this goes.
And then, the folks in Texas get a deal, and then Lone Mountain, Nevada, which is essentially Las Vegas, says, "Hey, we want that deal. We want a thing like that. Can we have mediation? We don't want to go to court. Can we have mediation too?"
Yeah, and it looks like their answer right now is, "We didn't ask you."
Yeah,
we already got our approval from the town, from the city council. So they definitely have the upper hand of the leverage right now. But yeah, right now there might be some litigation that's happening. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that.
The poor church in Cody, Wyoming, another place that is just riddled with, all this kind of stuff. This is hilarious to me. This temple update about Cody, Wyoming, because it's being built. They've essentially said, no, you're not going to stay. Go ahead. Now they're putting together the Lego pieces that is a modular temple, and in Cody's going forward. But because neighbors are just mad, I'd love for you to tell me about this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, so I guess there was a power outage in Cody, and so, a lot of people are, oh, it's that temple over there. They're messing with the construction and the power lines and everything. So that was the scuttlebutt in Cody, but I guess it was reported that a bird actually caused the outage, an unlucky bird. They said it's not common, but it does happen every once in a while that an animal can cause a power outage like this. So,
yeah, and you just know that anything that happens in Cody, Wyoming for the next 10 years, it's the Mormon temple, because the Mormons did the thing. We wouldn't have had to do this, but the Mormons, they brought in the Mormon. Mormon. This restaurant, the food was terrible. Service was not good tonight. Thanks to the Mormons, because they're having a temple night. Genuinely, that is what that community's attitude is. And it's because we just said, stick it. We're going to do this anyway, and got our way through it. I will not understand that until someone explains to me why it is so important for us to build these things in a way that we're not willing to be flexible and be so rigid about it. I do not understand our approach on that. I know why we want temples. I know why we need temples. I don't understand the rigidity.
I think with this one, so like in Fairview, they said, okay, we'll downsize. We'll go to our large model to our medium model. But with Cody, it's already the smallest temple that the church builds. And so they're kind of like, well, we're not going to go any smaller because this is the smallest we got.
Right.
So I don't know.
But isn't part of it the height of the steeple?
It's true.
And I just love the idea, and I know this may be sacrilege, but I love the idea of God being like, not tall enough, looking at the steeple and being like, that's good work you did in there, but the steeple, not quite tall enough, everyone. I know it's symbolic. I know, blah, blah. Anyway.
Speaking about temples without a steeple, the Singapore temple, they are starting to demolish the meeting house that is on site. And this is the temple about the same size as the Cody, Wyoming temple, but does not have a large steeple.
Oh.
In a place like Singapore with very large towers and buildings and everything, you would think that the church could get away with a steeple, but they chose to put the temple without a steeple in Singapore.
Huh. Yeah, man, no rhyme or reason. We skipped over Birmingham. Yep.
So, yeah, it looks like the church has begun. I think it says that they've begun the first step of the planning process for this temple. I think they've gotten the permission, so good sign so far there that they're not getting too much discord with this. This is also kind of a smaller temple, but it does have a large steeple, so we'll see what they think about that.
One of the signals that lets us know that it's pretty soon to dedication time is when temple presidents and matrons are called, and there's a couple of those.
Yeah, first the Grand Junction Colorado Temple. The Alphins have been called as the president and the matron. They live there in Grand Junction. So yeah, it's cool to see them, residents of this city, become the first president and matron. The other one is the Syracuse, Utah Temple. The Steeles from Syracuse as well will be the future leaders of this temple. And then finally, Nairobi, Kenya. The Kogos, I guess is their last name. Brother and Sister Kogo will be the first temple president and matron. And this temple is getting pretty close to being finished as well. So looks like in probably the first half of 2025, we'll be seeing at least announcements, if not open houses and dedications for these temples.
And worth noting, too, with the Kenya temple, Kenyans, native Kenyans being the temple president and matron.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's really cool
Absolutely
because they're
awesome.
from the Eldoret, Kenya district. So they reside in a branch. So it's not every day that you get a temple president coming out of a branch.
Yeah, awesome. So very cool. Which then takes us to our year in review and the preview of 2025. Let's do it. And then let's put a bow on this and stick it underneath the Christmas tree so Santa can take credit for it.
Yeah, so this year we got 16 temple dedications, which is more than any other year except one, which I think it was 2001 or 2, when the church dedicated like a whopping 34 temples.
Jeez, and that's
2000.
obviously the big boom with President Hinckley.
Yeah, that was when they reached 100 temples as well that year.
34 that year.
34. And so in 1999 it was 15, so this year, 2024, just barely edged out that. And unlike the 34 temples dedicated in 2000, it went way down. So 5 in 2001, 7 in 2003, 2 in 2003. But we're seeing that the amount of groundbreakings and temple announcements right now, this like 16 or so temples per year is probably going to continue. There's about, I would say, 16 or so that are queued up for next year, 2025. So unlike the Hinckley years when we had this huge spike and then a decrease, it looks like for the foreseeable future, the next decade probably, we'll be seeing 20 temples dedicated a year.
Is it too soon to say also unlike the year 2034 temples, that the temples that we're building now won't have to be closed and renovated in 2 years because of mold and fast building practices? Is that too soon?
I would definitely hope so. I think these temples are at a higher, they certainly take longer.
Yeah.
Those temples that President Hinckley announced, some of them only took 12 months
Yeah.
to construct. And these Nelson era temples are taking 2 or 3 years.
So maybe
I would hope that they would not need a renovation that soon.
people don't believe me. Look it up. Look it up and how many of those had to be rebuilt.
There was also 14 groundbreakings this year. So we're
Okay.
seeing that pace kind of continue. And then there was 32 announcements for new temples. There was 15 in the April conference and then 17 in the October conference.
Okay. As we look towards 2025, 16 dedications already queued up.
Yeah, I would say those 16 temples are getting near finishing and will probably be dedicated next year.
Wow.
And then,
The rededication of San Diego, that's a big deal for us folks in the West.
yeah, it hasn't been announced, but I would say it's pretty safe that near the summer, maybe reaching the fall, maybe even spring, I don't know. But it looks like there'll probably be a temple open house in San Diego.
And
then-
Toronto as well for a rededication.
Yeah, this one has already been announced for the spring, so looking forward to that too. And then there's 54 temple sites that have been announced. So any of those temples could get groundbreaking next year. So they could be pretty busy with those.
Are there any other closed for extended renovations that could be opening up next year? I'm trying to think.
I don't think so. Let's see.
It's Salt Lake, it's closed, but that's not 25.
There's a small chance the Orlando temple could be finished by then, but probably not till 26.
Okay.
The Kona, Hawaii temple, probably not till 26. Salt Lake, not till 26. Anchorage, Alaska, they're rebuilding. Probably not until 26 or 27. You have Stockholm, probably 27. The new Provo temple, probably 27 or 28. Same with Manhattan, is under reconstruction. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, there it is. As always, you can find all the links to the different stories that we talked about. They are in the show notes. Go and find them there. You will find no one on any sort of something called the Cultural Hall that knows the temples more than Corey K. Ward, the Pharaoh himself. As we record this before Christmas, Corey, have yourself a merry little Christmas. Please let your heart be light. And, from now on, I'm hoping that your troubles, that they may be out of sight.
Thank you, Richie.
Through the
Merry
years.
Christmas to
No,
you.
I'm just joking. We hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body.
We hope that if you're sick or otherwise afflicted, that you'll be able to listen next week.
And that when the time comes, you will be able to travel home in safety. In the meantime, Chris at Alpine Lakes Travel, Rick McGee, Debbie Wanless, Chocolate Cake Bites Podcast, and the Tiger, with a U, will be saving a seat for you
On the back row
of the Cultural Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat. On the back row, we really gotta go on the Cultural Hall show.